Beautiful. That's the desired result. Okay, looking forward to it, John White. All right, howdy, folks. Welcome back. I told you I would be back. I warned some people I might be a little late tonight. Had some rescuing to do, so. Well, mission accomplished, and I made it back just in the nick of time to get everything taken care of and go live here. All right, so let me just kind of clear out a few things here and take a moment to thank you for taking a moment of your valuable time to be a part of this precious family. Okay. When you make it to the spiritual report at the end, you will indeed find out how precious this family is and how precious you are to me. Howdy, OB. Alrighty, so we're looking at the sun here. There's a lot of data missing the last 2 days from our regular satellite, but we're over here at stereo A where we were showing our round dark object right here coming out of the sun. Okay, and we made it all the way up to the frame before this one. This is the next frame, and I'm gonna let that sit there for a second and just let you guys look at it. I'm not gonna say anything. I'm just gonna get you guys centered there, hopefully with a nice, good, clear, clean view. Okay, you understand these objects are darker, they're round, they're spherical. The spread kind of gives it away, the flow gives it away. Okay, and then there's other little satellites, moons, and objects that interact with the sun before a bigger object interacts, right? And then after it leaves, some other trailing moons and satellites and stuff. Okay, so here we are with our darker object captured right here. Okay, you can see the round spherical shape to it. And before I point anything out, I'm just going to let it sit there. And maybe you guys can type into the chat if you notice anything about that. If you see a sign in the sun, okay, before any kind of like, power of suggestion or any kind of, hinting or anything like that, those of you with eyes that see might see a little something else going on in there, okay? And I know it takes 10-minute delay or something for it to reach the chat, but anyways, right there is your object. Okay, it's a good shot of it right there, and we'll play the loop for in a minute here. With this one frame, this is the one I use for the thumbnail here. There's a little something else going on in there. Okay, and then we're gonna back on out. And we'll come back to this and I'll point it out in a minute. For those of you who didn't catch what else is going on in there, maybe you see it now. Okay. I'm not going to say what it is because I don't want to be the one to be like, oh, hinting at something. I want you guys to be able to see it with your own eyes first, okay? Because that's very important. And then we have this image here with what appears to be, sometimes we get a reflection in the satellite, okay, especially on stereo A, but it does appear to have like a dark round spherical something to it. So I'll let you be the judge of that one as well. Let me kind of go like that a little bit. There we go. You can see our something going on right there too. All right, now stereo A is a frame every hour. Okay, so it's not as smooth. There's not as much data. Let's just say not as many frames per session per day. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so there I've played it, the loop playing right there, and you can see your bigger object that was moving out. Okay, and the plasma draping around it, kind of indicating what's going on there. Okay, and then we're going to go back to that frame, and I'm going to point something out I don't think anybody else saw it because they didn't put anything in the chat. But I'm going to capture that frame here again. I'm just going to start right at the, whoops. Well, right there. Just kind of, it's not on this side, but on this red side. We'll keep going in on it. Can't go in too close, but right about there. Maybe now you can see it a little closer. That's about as good as we can get it right there without it kind of losing its. Okay, I'm not making this stuff up. I'm just going to back out a little bit so it's a little more easier to see. Oh, somebody saw it. Yeah, there's a face, and it's smiling at you. Here, let's go in a little closer again. Hi. See the smile, the nose, the eyes, the eyebrows lifting up. Yeah, let me move my arrow there. Okay, now to get a perfectly symmetrical face like that is, well, it's a math formula. You can't. It's smiling. Oh yeah, you can see it smiling. All right. And then as we back away, it'll get clearer. We're up too close. As we back away, it really starts to get more defined. Okay, now to get a perfectly symmetrical face, it can't be an accident. Everything doesn't just fall into line, accidentally. When you get a perfectly symmetrical face on a round spherical object like this, it's there on purpose. Okay, when it talks about signs in the sun, well, there you go. Let me ask you, I'll let you be the judge of all this and stuff, okay? You can see that face right there. Let me ask you guys, is that a sign in the sun? Would that be considered, here's the sun, here's a object that we've been talking about, the dragon or these bigger objects. Sorry, bumped my own thing. But we talk about these objects and some of them having, faces and spiritual events going on and stuff out here by the sun. So here we are. And I'll let you be the judge of this. Okay. I didn't want to point it out, but here we go. There's the eye, the nose, the smile, the eyebrow or whatever coming up, another eyebrow coming up over there. That is clearly a face, okay? And it's not an accidental face. It's kind of lit on one side and half lit on the other, giving it three-dimensionality on a spheroid, okay? Now, I think it made it into the title. I put a little smiley face, a sun with a little smiley face on it, okay? So that'll be a little hint as to what's going on in this video right there. Sorry, I keep bumping the desk. All right, so most people wouldn't see this. Most people wouldn't catch this. They don't even know about the round, dark objects. They're all looking at the streaks of light, okay? And they're looking at this band of light right here. Blinded by the light, they don't see what's hiding in the dark, all right? Like I said, a lot of these events are spiritual in nature and stuff. When you understand how all this works, everything, and that includes out in space, is controlled by, well, the Most High. And there he is smiling at you right there, giving you a little hint that he can make things happen out by the sun as well. Remember we were looking at faces by the moon? What's going on here? Face by the sun, right? Okay. I'll let you be the judge of all this and stuff, but here we are. Faced by the moon. We were talking about just the other night. We always show it every night, right? And now we have another thing to read from, or, put up there, of Faced by the sun. Okay, these are NASA's images. This is one of my favorite. It's stereo A. This is where I captured the dragon, or this is where we originally captured the dragon back on September 10th of 2017. It was captured on this very satellite, stereo A. Now it's moved its position since back in those days. Okay, and it's closer to Earth now and has a slightly off, well, a couple of degrees off of our perspective on the sun. But that's okay because sometimes it captures these nice crystal clear images like this. All right. All right, so there's that. Interesting, huh? Signs in the sun. And let's get on over to the solar ham and get this show on the road. Almost looks like a face right here with a little frown. Anyways, let's continue here. Solar flux indice 174. We're up 2 points. We're still within the yellow zone. Okay, that's good. We're not at 200 and in the red yet. But here's what's going on now. Up 33 sunspots. Okay, sunspot numbers are 161. We just jumped up another 33 sunspots. Okay, well, that bigger object with a lot of its satellites and trailing moons and stuff creates smaller little sunspots all around the sun, not just on the Earth facing side. So this is a total sunspot count all the way around. And we are up another 33, which is an indicator that we're, the another object's approaching, a bunch of these satellites, a bunch of these little moons or whatever you want to call them. Okay. They're interacting with the sun. Okay, coming on over here, 3-day geomagnetic forecast, all clear, all good right there. And let's see how fluxed we are, shall we? Goes X-ray flux, that is. Swimming pools and movie stars. All right, now here's your little graph for today. Now, remember, this is the activity that happened between the sun and this instrument, and this satellite, okay? So it doesn't necessarily represent all the activity on the sun today. But you can see we've had a little small bumpy ride. Boom, 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 boom. We had this little event right here. But here's today with this. We had that bigger object and then all kinds of little smaller events. And then this little last little bit at the end here. Now we're going into tomorrow, but there's no data on this on either satellite, stereo A or our regular instrument here, or a regular SOHO satellite. I just want to show you really quick. Okay, so these 2 days, we're usually covering this one right here, but it's missing for some reason. Probably because somebody smiled for the camera. But we caught it on stereo A instead. Okay, so somebody was smiling at the camera, and it's not up there right now, and nor is anything in the next day showing up. So nothing to tease you with tonight. So let's move on. Okay. Crazy. All right, as we come on down now, you can see your well, let's get over the sunspots first. 77, 76, and 74 beta gammas, and 74 being that weird beta delta. Okay. Some of these polarities of these other moons are it only has a one strong polarity and gives this weird beta delta. So it has one strong polarity, it has a delta configuration. It's really close together, but there's no strong opposite polarity, your gamma. Okay, so that's a little strange, and that could be caused by some of these the weaker moons with different configurations and stuff, I think. I'll let you be the judge of that as well. But auroras, meanwhile, really light. Here's your KP. We went up to about 3.5, came way back down again. Slight little bump up to 2.5, and just kind of resting at normal activity right here, which is good. We need some normalcy for a minute, okay? I want to come back and visit these really quick. Can we zoom in a little more, Lord? All right, so our 77, 78, 76, this big old splotchy region, okay, also 39, 74. So 74, I think, is the weird polarity one. Yeah, beta delta, okay. The other ones have a gamma component and growing, so when we come back up here, I just wanted to take a peek at this weird little oddball 174. See how one side, the red is, no, you don't, because it's not big enough, Brian. All right. Let me go in a little tighter, too. Okay, so that 3974 having a stronger polarity on one side and then a really weaker one on the other. I have a feeling it's because of these little objects sometimes have a, well, an off balance or a magnetic field. Meanwhile, this big region is an indication of some kind of blob out there interacting. All right. We also have the big coronal hole that's Earth facing right now as well. So we'll touch base on that a little bit. 110. Thank you. All right. Backing up and backing out. The smiles must scare them. Yeah, it does sometimes. These might scare them too. These frowny ones are not happy, growling at them. All right. A pair of coronal holes are now facing Earth. Large coronal hole number 11, which resembles some sort of animal, should be the main source of a solar wind stream past Earth by January 31st into February 1st. Active geomagnetic conditions, possibly KP4, is currently forecasted. Aurora sky watchers at high latitudes, watch out, you might get zapped. No, I'm joking. New active regions still that are rotating, just touching base 77, but we already saw the other ones here. Let's do a little track-a-lacking since we're lacking some tracking. My little track-a-lackers. How are my track-a-lackers out there? You guys lacking the tracking too? Well, let's track it down really quick for you. All right, so I just want to touch base again with plasma density. As we hit the 30th right here, plasma density supposedly is about to drop. And this little band finally moves through there, right, or whatever. Here, we can even load this up. Well, I'm talking about that. So if a band moves through, all right, density finally drops after it passes. Then we get uptick in velocity. All right, watch this uptick in velocity. I want to slide. Oh, come on. I just wanted to slide so I can use the buttons. All right, bagging up. So right about here, we get our uptick in velocity with your velocities up to like 600, almost up to 700 right there as this band comes out from your solar coronal hole. All right. So we're going to see an uptick in velocity, the density dropping down. So hopefully it won't affect the auroras too much, but we'll see. We don't need to be absorbing a lot more. All right, but we're expecting an uptick in velocity. And I think sometimes, I was showing you that configuration last night. Whoops. If one of these bigger objects gets behind us, well, it draws solar material towards it. So if it's behind us, it could cause the coronal hole that's drawing material towards it, which would higher our wind speeds. All right, let me get back to that instrument really quick. My bad. So I think we're almost done here because we checked our tracker. There's your M17 that came off of there, okay? And then that whole region that we just looked at. All right, moving on. I don't think this one's been updated, but we will take a peek. A hole in the sun's atmosphere. The large hole in the sun's atmosphere is directly facing Earth, and a blowing stream of solar wind is in our direction. Estimated to time of arrival 31st to 1st. Minor G1 class geomagnetic storms are possible, and when the gaseous material reaches Earth. Okay. There's your stratospheric clouds. Moving on, let's get over here and check out the Schumann. We've had a little uptick in the Schumann here, so everybody hold on. Nothing too bad. But here we go. Now, we were putting along, doing good. A little bit of scraping going on down below, but nothing too bad. Not messing with the Schumann or your 7.83 too much. Now, here we go. Just within the last 5 hours, it started here. Had a little break. There was probably a buildup of pressure. We had a good volcanic eruption or earthquake. That little stripe in between. Then pressure built right back up. So it was just a brief little poof and then right back to grinding again. It seemed to kind of take another event and stop. But now here's a big grinding stop. And now we're back to really strong, all the way, not all the way white to the bottom, but this is a pretty good reading, pretty strong right now. Okay, so that's an indication that pressure is building up down there. The core that spins inside the shell is expanding and it expands outward into that shell. That shell also heats up and it wants to expand outward as well. And it does a little bit, probably, but there's a lot of magma, there's a lot of crust that's holding it in. So there's a lot of pressure pushing down on the outer core. So it's hard for that outer core to expand outward, but it can expand inward down onto the core as the core is expanding outward. So you're getting an effect where the core's clamping down like a fist while like clamping down on a rubber ball, a fist clamping down while that rubber ball is trying to expand outward. So all of a sudden you go right back to grinding. Okay, and I believe that's what we're seeing here because this is your 7.83 is the frequency caused by that rotating in your core. Okay, it propagates out this electromagnetic field, and that's the shield that protects Earth and also catches a lot of radiation and deviates it to the poles as well. Okay, so here we go into another round of pressure, grinding, and the Schumann going crazy here again. So everybody hold on. It might be a bumpy little roller coaster ride of emotions and pain and irritation, irritability, all kinds of wonderful stuff that goes along with this, okay? But you guys are troopers, so hang in there, all right? A little bit of roller coaster ride, but you've been through worse, so nothing too bad for you guys. Rest of the world, though, you're gonna see some reactions, so hold on, understand what's going on, and you'll forgive them. You'll just go, they don't know that's going on, behind the scenes. All right, now let's get a little bit coloration and lines as well, but really quick, here's your tropical convergence zone. All right, still kind of lifted off the equator, slowly trying to come down. We're getting closer and closer to kind of coming down. These winds lifting up aren't so strong and organized much anymore. They're kind of getting diffused. So we're starting to see this little boundary break down. See these little weak spots here where it's starting to break down, and over here, but it's still there. Okay, now we come over to here. We're at surface level right now, so here's some of your surface level winds. We're just kind of looking around. Ooh, that was not just smiling at me. Are you kidding me? Hang on. Peekaboo, I'll let you be the judge of this. Looks like a Alvin the Chipmunk or something like that, huh? With kaleidoscope eyes. Or some kind of dog now, or I don't know. I'll let you be the judge this, but you saw the face on this or on that object next to the sun. Why couldn't there be a face on the earth, huh? Huh? Hi. I hope you guys are laughing and enjoying this as well, because just are you still looking at me? Here, I'll give you the kaleidoscope eyes. Ooh. All right. Sorry. Let's get back to business here. We can always come back and play around later. um, where are we going, Lord? All right, so let's go up a little bit higher to your storms, okay? Still smiling with the storm level, okay? So it's still there. Looking around the world really quick, see if anybody else is smiling at you. All right, over on this side of the planet, not so happy. All right, weird configuration we got going on. And we'll get to our thermals here. I'm just kind of looking at. We had that big storm that was approaching France and Spain. And I just showed you video out of France there on the opening. So that storm hit and flooded that town. And it's because we're having these wild weather events. And we'll get to the reasoning behind that. You know that. All right, looking around, that's about all I can see there for now. Let's come on up. Actually, while we're at the air, I want to check your polar vortex while we're here. Okay, so you can see your inflow cutting across India right here, going up into the feed, the inflow into our bipolar vortex. It looks like a capital D. This one has all of a sudden kind of broken down. If you look, remember we were looking last night, there's this extended loop over here. This one kind of, is being smashed by it. If we look up here at the top, you see this blue ribbon cutting through right there. All of a sudden, this isn't a closed loop anymore. So it's no longer a vortex. It has this split in it, okay? And even though we're looking at the world kind of upside down, I want you to notice that our vortex, this is the this was the perspective we were looking at last night. So that's breaking down now, and your D shape that was flat on one side and then round on the other is going to start to break down. See how we're starting to get more of a, well, it's not so straight up and down. It's more egg shaped. The egg. Everybody's talking about the egg. Did they know about the baby? All right, let's move on down here and look at this subtropical or this subvortex, how it's broken down here. And what's going on is this thing's starting to rotate over here, tore it apart. So now we have a different subvortex starting to get organized over here. And that'll probably maybe shove on this side, shoving up like that maybe. We'll see what happens, but it's about to change the configuration here. And also, we got another one starting to form over here. All right, so a change in configuration happened kind of quick here. All right, now you can see the polar vortex, how it, when it pulls apart, spreads. Now it's coming, let's do more like this. This vortex up here is pulling away some of this energy and driving cold air down into the country right through here. Okay, so that's cold air up above that's seeping down to lower levels. All right, so your polar vortex is driving colder air into that region. And you know that down below we have warm air coming up this way. So we're going to still see activity in there. All right, coming back down to Earth. There's your kind of neutral zone where the polar vortex and the upper jet stream fight it out. Okay, there's your upper jet stream, and it's all wonky. It's all over the place. Okay, what I want to take you down is to your lower jet right here. Now, your lower jet stream used to control the weather. It would steer it and guide it and stuff, and now our thermals are. Well, now that we're a little deeper into winter, it's taken a while, but now you're seeing a little bit more influence from your jet stream, fighting it out, duking it out with the thermal layer. Okay, they're layers of air, so that thermal layer is controlling the 850 layer. That's the layer where our thermals are controlling the weather. Okay, so in between the 250 or the 500 and the 850, there's a battle going on in that zone. And here's that battle zone, the 700 right here. Okay, but it's too wonky to kind of even follow. It's half of one, half of the other, kind of smashing together, some of it blending in, some of it not. It just wherever it's weakest, it doesn't blend in, but wherever it starts to get some strength, that it coincides with your layer down below. See, we're at 700. Now we're going to drop just a little lower to the 850. That's where your storms are and your thermal conductivity happening. Okay, so big storm right there on the nose of the little smiley guy. Pretty good sized storms out here for the eyes. We'll take you back down to the surface where it was more of a, hi, how are you? My name's Alvin the Chipmunk. All right, I'm just trying to make you guys laugh. I know there's some people that are suffering, and I know about the events that happened earlier tonight, but you cannot let that get you down. You still need to have some kind of, a little bit of humor in your life, or else you'll lose it. All right, so there's your activity for the air as far as the air goes. Let's take it into your particulates and your sandstorm. Okay, sandstorm report. You can still see him in the wind smiling. All right, coming on over. Here we go. Hold on tight. Look at this big, nasty plume that's reached all the way over here to the Caribbean and is just getting drawn up in these spires up into that region. And you can see coming over here to Africa, really, really big, thick plume. It's not super dense. There's some white patches here and there and there. But all in all, that's a lot of particulates, all right? Then we come over to this region. Oh, dear God. So here's your Saudi Arabia, your Yemen, Oman area, okay? And then you can see up in here, still spreading around. Still got our face going on over here. And then we got activity going it's just blowing all over the place. And it's even reaching up to the North Pole. You see this one little finger, hey, pointing at the North Pole tonight. Okay, so particulates are in your air all around the world, making your skies a little hazy. Okay, even on a crystal clear day, all of a sudden you got a little bit of haze in your skies because there's particulates, there's ash, there's all kinds of dust and sand and all kinds of other stuff up there. All right, so there's your sandstorm report. And looking down here, just touch base with people who are not familiar, but Australia having its own independent sandstorm as well. So this is a worldwide event. And sometimes South America has little sandstorms that come off the backside of the Andes. There's some deserts on the backside of these mountains, but not so much tonight. All right, let's continue on. Excuse me. Let's get into the SO2 report here. SO2, not CO2. Okay, we can touch base with CO2 in a little bit, but SO2 is sulfur dioxide, which is important because we do volcano reports here, right? Well, sulfur dioxide is basically vaporized magma that's pushing up through the pores and the seams and all the perforations in the crust. Thinking of it as like the pores on your skin, just the tiniest little pathways that only gas can make it through. Tight little crevices, really tight channels that come from down below up to the surface and then finally break the surface. So as we come in here, as you can see, we got country kind of divided here. We got one side, very soft crust, very spongy, porous type crust, so it just oozes SO2 all over the place, not so much volcanic sites. Meanwhile, on this side is more mountainous, rocky, granite type terrain, so any perforations of crust on this side are more volcanic in nature. So there you go, your country divided. This activity also... SO2 comes out of the ground so hot that it causes spontaneous combustion at any kind of vegetation at the emission site. small little crack opens up in the ground, and you might not see it, but it's venting SO2, but you can smell it. And pretty soon later, you smell smoke because the bush next to it caught on fire. Not much of this activity going on up in Canada. All right, there's one right there that's barely visible, but looking down here, we got a fire up here in Oregon. We got another one here in Northern California. Boom. Another one down here in the mountains, down by, well, that looks down by like Mammoth. So, then also something, we're looking at the fires, right? We're all, oh yeah, correlation, the dot correlates with the emission site. Yeah, I see what you mean, blah, 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 blah. Note, we're also having an uptick in SO2 emissions along the whole Sierra Range right here. If I can take this off, you can see here's Tahoe, all right, which is like the fulcrum point of California. Okay, comes out of your tip up here. Like, come here. Okay, right above this, California comes out, comes down, runs down through Tahoe, takes the fulcrum point, and then comes down this way. So this is all SO2 emissions starting to happen here along the foothills, down at your Mammoth area. So a little uptick in pressure, probably along the coast when we get to our thermals. But there we go, a little fire activity to report on tonight, and unfortunately, it looks like some of this activity might be due to the SO2 emissions. I'll let you be the judge of that as well, okay? But you don't see a lot of people reporting on that because, well, it's disturbing that you can't stop these fires from happening because they're being started from underground. Okay, we saw it happening up here in Canada just last week. There was a big rash of fires while it was sub-zero up there. So why are they having wildfires in sub-zero temperatures, you know? Pretty self-explanatory. You can see it. All right, let me take the fires off. Steven, good to see you. Also, Mexico having volcanoes, all kind of old, emission sites still going on there. Cuba, going to Jamaica, Dominican Republic, Virgin Islands. Here's all of like Nicaragua, Central America. Right? You see all of these islands out here. Each one of them has its own little tail. Boom, 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 boom. So every single island out there, pressure down below is trying to get up through the underside of the crust, and it's coming out all these small little perforations. These are all individual sites coming down the side of South America here. This isn't a plume that's hugging the coast. Okay. Hello, the truth will set you free. Welcome. Hop in and enjoy. All right. So as you can see, this is the fulcrum point on our plate boundary system offshore here. And a lot of SO2 emissions along this whole coastline, keeping pressures down. The pressure down below, if all these were plugged up, that pressure would build up, and then you would see a snap at your fulcrum point or along the plate boundary. All right, so this is relieving pressure down below by pushing out the SO2. Now, intense emissions down this way blow out decent sized plumes out into the Pacific and into the Atlantic as well. Okay, not too big of a plume tonight, but all this pressure being relieved along this area right off of the plate boundary is keeping your earthquake activity and magnitudes down. We also have a huge opening on the ocean floor down here, venting a huge vent spot that's been relieving a lot of pressure as well. Let me take a sip for a second. All right, moving forward. Our fulcrum point area here, it's a weak spot. Okay, path of least resistance tonight. It's not just the one spot. We got all three of these darkening up, don't we? For those of you who are here almost every night or watch this continually, you've seen a difference here. Tonight we got 3 dark ones. So, and this 5th one, well defined. So, what does that all mean? An uptick in pressure down below, right, you guys? So you're going to see, more earthquake activity trying to happen because pressure down below is building, causing more emissions. Is that drop there? Did I just hear drop come in the room? I thought I saw somebody in the chat too. Yes, hi drop. Good to see you. Oh, good. I'm glad everybody's showing up. All right, cool. Back to the report. We're going to come on over to Hawaii because it is the hub of the Pacific Rim. The Pacific Rim, being much like a bicycle rim, has a hub in the center of it, and that whole plate, any kind of perforation, it's right in the middle. And Oahu, being an old dormant volcano, spews a lot of SO2. We're talking about these volcanic plugs in the tube, how it solidifies and plugs up. Well, that one's plugged up, but it still allows SO2 to come out. Oh, you saw the head of the snake, huh? Okay. I see a lot of things. There's too much going on. I don't want to point everything out. You guys are very observant, so we'll just kind of leave some things unsaid. That way, certain people get their own verification on their own. But very observant. I love you, Drop. That's why I love you, dude. All right, here we go. Back to Hawaii. It has SO2 emissions as well, but Kilauea has had, 7 rounds of activity where it bubbles up to the surface. It starts to have activity, erupts a couple of times. That lava lake starts to spew something, then it calms down. Then it bubbles up again. So we're having this not oscillating effect, but this up and down, back and forth exchange of pressure. When it builds up all these perforations, the earth has this system of this design of relieving pressure down below. Working pretty well so far, but we need to back up for this part of the world. Alrighty, dropping into China. Very strong emissions in this area, all right, for a long, long time. So every day, just spewing SO2 out of the ground there. It's probably poisoning these people to death and slowly over time. Also in this area, you can see a little creeping here. You see these little spots? This whole thing is starting to break down. We're starting to see SO2 emissions in this structure. You notice that? Look at this stuff creeping in. There must be a lot of pressure in that region to break through this really thick, especially here where the Gobi Desert is. This is an old body of water, and on the weight of that water and the pressure has compacted the floor so thick and dense it's like cement. And yet now we're starting to see SO2 emissions coming out of it. Dude, look at that. I'm not joking. It looks like a snake face right there coming out of the Gobi Desert. If they'd only take heed, if people would believe. Anyways, we gotta move on. Look at this over here. Woo-hoo-hoo. Alrighty. Coming back to India. India darkening up in its concentrations because this SO2 tries to escape the area. It gets pushed up against the Himalayas and then circulates back around. Yeah, there's a snake. All right, there's some kind of bull or dog right there. 3-dimensional too. You guys see this bull or this dog with horns or whatever's going on right here? It's got its mouth open. Oh, it's a little chihuahua barking. Roof, roof. Could be a bull. Could be a lot of different. It's interesting how the spiritual faces work. because one shift of perspective, all of a sudden it becomes something else. You tilt your head just a tad bit one way, it became a different face. They're multi-dimensional. It is so wild. I'm just gonna let that kind of continue on here. Meanwhile, you can see the dog's eye. Are you kidding me? Look at the dog's eye or whatever. I'm trying not to look at the dog and report on this stuff, but that is crazy. When I looked away out of the corner of my eye, if you don't look it straight in the eye, if you look down here and look at this dog face out of the corner of your eye, out of the peripheral, you can see the three-dimensional to it. That's impossible. That is impossible. Well, actually, nothing is impossible with Jesus. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. Focus, Brian. Back to the report. SO2 emissions coming out all over Middle East area. You can probably see why. Also methane emissions. Okay, methane being a flammable gas coming out at 3,000 degrees is already spontaneous combustion temperature. So it's gas that's already at temperature of flame. All it needs is some oxygen. As soon as it breaks the surface of the crust or the earth, hits that air, hits that oxygen, just bursts into flame. So you're having pits that are opening up, like sinkholes, and then out of them is leaking methane on fire. The spiritual warfare is on, baby. Woo, kidding me? Through this region, you can see all their issues as well. This little critter from Jabba's lap right here. Little pointed nose that hangs down like a hook little nose and them droopy little cheeks. That little dude. I don't know. Has to be more defined like that. That just barks at you. Roof. Wow. Crazy. All right. Focus, Brian. Lord, help me focus on doing this. We'll come over to Java. Thank you. Let's get back to the report. Sorry. Some of these things are just kind of distracting, aren't they? Now, see, you have distractions in the world that take you away from the spiritual realm. I have the opposite problem. I have the spiritual realm all over the place, and I need distractions from it by doing these reports. So, back to the coloration here of Java. You can see it's darkening in a little bit. Some of it blew out into the straits here, but pretty good darkening in for this time, right now. Some out here. So we're seeing a little uptick in pressure. A relief valve pushing out plenty right now. Okay, we come up to Taiwan here. Still emitting SO2, probably right out of that plate boundary that runs halfway down the island, kind of bisects it a little bit. All right, Japan being a volcanic island in its own right. North Korea up through here. Here's the Kamchatka Peninsula. Okay, little volcano at the tip. And then also activity going up to the top as well. We did that, we did this, we did all that. We didn't need to do this. Australia still doing its thing. Coming on in here. Okay, we got a couple of SO2 emission sites on this island right here, right at the beginning of the plate boundary system. So pressure coming up in this region, right around Fiji in this deep quake region. As it reaches the surface, it wants to crack loose with a quake along the plate boundary on that crack, right? That path of least resistance. But pressure being relieved right here has kept activity down and magnitudes down. Lately, we have seen activity starting to creep into this area now. So for a long time it's been down, and lately we've seen a little uptick in earthquake activity through this region. We also have volcanoes in this region relieving pressure as well. Okay. Touching base with the home reef really quick. I know you guys all know this, but for just a spiel or whatever, here is your new island. Okay, a seamount. I've shown you all these seamounts on the thermals. A seamount over here made it all the way to the surface of the water, broke through the surface, and now it's emitting SO2, having little volcanic eruptions there. Home reef. It's currently erupting volcano on our volcano report. That one right there. So new currently erupting volcano, or lately, after it finally broke the surface. So now we're seeing new land masses growing out of the ocean because of the pressure down below. That was all created by the sun, a side effect of the activity on the sun. Through a chain reaction, pressure down below, pushing pressure up, perforating the crust. All right, so we're growing new islands as we go. All right, Lord, back to where we were. Oh, man, I'm just all over the place tonight. I'm exhausted. I just got back from a very important mission. So, I want to go through some of these chemicals a little bit. We did SO2, right? I told you we do CO2. So let me just kind of get. Now CO2 is a different color on the map here. You see your color chart. Dark being low concentrations of CO2, bright blue being high concentrations of CO2. Okay, so as we look around here, we're gonna just kind of look at America. We got a little bit of CO2 emissions going on here in Texas and on the coast and stuff. We come over here, and here's your big culprit. CO2 emissions is over here. Now, CO2 is plant food, all right? The plants absorb CO2. They use it for photosynthesis, and then the side effect is kicked out is oxygen, okay? After this chemical reaction, the catalyst or the side effect, not the catalyst, but a spare molecule that's kicked off is oxygen. So CO2, plant food, okay? So low concentrations in jungle areas because all the plants are eating it up, okay? Higher concentrations around your cities where there's a lot of people. So just a little touching base with you. A lot of jungle out down here, really dense, so CO2 levels are super low there because all the plants are eating it. Oxygen levels are really high though, okay? But just sometimes a lot of people think that we produce all the CO2 and it's China's the one who's really the culprit. A little bit going on today though. All right, moving on. Also, CO is carbon monoxide, not carbon dioxide, but carbon monoxide. Kind of like the stuff that comes out of your tailpipe, all right? Also comes off of fires too. So you're seeing smoke and carbon monoxide, some of these emissions going on around the world as well. Over here, strong little spot of carbon monoxide, usually always there here over China because they have, a lot of cars, emission, they don't have a lot of emission controls like we have in America. Okay. So there's some of your culprits there. Those two chemicals is this area. What else I want to come back to? We did the SO2, particulates, SO4, really quick. I know we're getting to it. SO4 is another sulfate, okay? It's like SO2. It comes out of the ground, out of vents and magma. It's also chemical made too, but we're not too much about the emission sites here. It's just the fact that it's all over the place. Now, this particulate, when water adheres to a particulate, it turns into a raindrop. Well, this particulate, when it goes to bond with it, it actually, or instead of adhering to it, it bonds with it. Another chemical bond happens. So when H2O and SO4 combine, you get a new chemical compound called H2SO4, which is sulfuric acid. And all this SO4 is caught up in the storms. See it caught up in the storms? What is a storm bank made out of? Clouds, right? Moisture, water. So all this SO4 is combining with all the water in this storm, and your storms are acidic in nature. We're getting acid rain all around the world. Okay. Some places worse than others. So a lot of these flooding events, when you see, we're doing the opening and you're seeing all this flooding and it's all happening, well, a lot of that water's got a sulfuric acid component to it. All right, we're moving on, getting away from that stuff, but we still got to inform you on it, okay? Where we going next, Lord? Can we? All right, finally. So our sea surface temperature anomalies, we want it for right now. All right, good. Our latest update is the 28th, so it's continuing. It is updating, even though it's a day behind because of all the data that it takes to make this map. Okay, here really quick, you see this La Nina fighting back and getting back in the game here. You can see that some of these emission sites up here that were, causing the divergence in our convergent zone. Okay, so it's usually down here where your El Nino or your La Nina pattern runs, except your convergent zone's been shifted up to here, and these thermal spots are the reason why. But now you see them kind of weakening, and look at your La Nina fighting back to get in there in the game there. I noticed that when I first looked at that. I said, oh, look at La Nina come back in there. Really quick down below, this region has a big opening, lots of little openings. Whatever's going on in the ocean floor here is leaking a lot of hot water, steam, magma, whatever is creating a huge hot water plume. And you can actually see the plate boundary line zigzag down through this all the way to the shore right here. And your plate boundary line right here is oozing magma. Probably oozing magma. That's most likely what's coming out of the ground. Some of these bigger openings, you might be seeing heavy metals from down below that are making their way up a little higher. Oh dear. Let's not look at that. We're going to continue up here in the northern hemisphere then. I do want to touch base also with Taiwan here, our fulcrum point on the plate boundary. Usually we're seeing earthquake activity in this little pocket right here, but you can see there's an uptick in coloration right here at our fulcrum point. So this new opening is relieving pressure in the area, keeping our fulcrum point quakes down. Now we have a new source over here that's been creeping up the side, causing earthquakes on the plate boundary that runs through Taiwan. So a little different activity here at Taiwan. Instead at the fulcrum point here, earthquakes are striking on the plate boundary on the backside because of this encroachment here on the left. Okay, this is hot water readings, but they're relative to pressure down below that's pushing that hot water, magma, whatever out. So they can be used as readings of pressure down below. They correlate with pressure down below. I think you guys grasp how that works. Okay, path of least resistance, keeping earthquake activity down here at the fulcrum point, but a new encroachment of pressure into the area causing earthquake activity on the backside of Taiwan. All right, said it twice, said it 3 times, now you're out. Coming through this area, you see a lot of activity through here. Here's your Pencil Island, relieving some of the pressure in the region. So you see darker, but there's another little spot growing out here. This is where we saw that little oddball quake. It was out in that region too. Okay, coming over here, here's Fiji, the deep region area. There's your home reef island out in this region now. And I believe it's right about there. And it's all dark now because the pressure is being relieved. There's an island and a volcano now, so that region's not hot water, it's an island. All right, coming in there. There's the big spot on the bottom. Oops, hit that face again. We're coming over here then to Java. Man, all kinds of activity all over the place tonight. Could barely turn this thing without finding stuff. Whew, it must be close. Cold water inundation starting to happen in our relief valve area. A lot of SO2, a lot of volcanic activity on Java, relieving pressure. Look how cold water inundation coming in here to Java. We've seen SO2 emissions out of these islands. That might be relieving some of the pressure in that region, allowing for cold water inundation in that area. All right, enough of that, blah, blah, blah. We also have inner bodies of water, landlocked bodies of water, oceans, seas, not oceans, but seas and lakes and stuff, also starting to have this thermal activity under them. And this is creating warm water in the wintertime. So when cold air goes rushing over these lakes that are usually cold, well, now they're spewing warm, moist air up into the atmosphere, up into the air. That cold air hits it, and you're seeing lake effect snow like crazy. Every time cold air comes through here, it just blossoms right over the lakes and causes lake effect snow. So you're seeing a drastic uptick in your lake effect snow activity because of your thermal activity down below. It's affecting everywhere. I mean, everywhere. All right, enough. Put the winds on. Hit the conveyor belt and start the circus music. Do 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 do. I need to take a break for just a second here. We didn't talk about the West Coast here. I'm gonna turn the wind off for a second and let you guys eyeball where the heat plumes are. Little spots popping along the coast here. Not so much inside the eyeball structure, but right on the fringe of it. So that means there's a little pressure approaching this region. Even though it's not right under it, it's approaching it. So you might start to see a little uptick in this area here. Also, we saw this was a little filled in some more. So there's a little more cold water inundation around here. We've seen some quake activity in that region just recently. So I think we're seeing a reduction of temperatures in here, or just this fluctuation as pressure builds and recedes and stuff. Okay, so let me just kind of back out like that. You can see all your heat right there, and then I'll put on the circus music. Look at your configurations that are still happening because of thermal activity. All right. Now you got your lower jet stream that's being compressed. It's being pushed down on the lower layers, and it's interacting with this layer more and more. And they're fighting for control or dominance. So you're seeing half and half now, which is making weather even more unpredictable. Half of it's being not half, but like 60%, 70% being controlled by this, and now a little influence from above, whipping things into action a little bit more now. So bear with me for just a second. Where did you go, kitty? All right, thank you for holding up there for a second. Just want to make sure the cat's not locked outside when there are coyotes and dogs out there howling. All right, so back to you can see your thermal activity happening over here. We had this opening here in Alaska. Okay, big heat plume right here. Cold water, hot water right next to each other, blending in, trying to curve around. We were seeing some rotation in this area, but your jet stream is coming through and kind of brushing these things around, and some of it's making landfall, some of it doesn't. So it's a little hit and miss right now. We still have this pocket down here. Now check this out. This one seems to have reduced a little bit. We'll take the winds off. Got so much going on here. This one seems to have reduced a lot because this one seems to be growing in size. So path of least resistance right here, relieving pressure more so than this smaller spot. So you see a transfer of pressure. So this one's weakening because this one's getting bigger, it looks like. I'll let you be the judge of that as well, okay? So there's that, and that's keeping warm, humid air, very humid air for this time of year, okay? So when you have warm, humid air, that's the recipe for disaster because we get this cold air in wintertime that comes down and slams into it. If there were cold water down here, we wouldn't have this moisture in the air. It'd just be cold surges, right? But they slam into this moist air. So this is a very, very important component to what's going on with our weather right here. And when we get the thermals back on, or the winds back on, that's what I kind of wanted to see here is what direction. Now you see how winds are blowing through the Caribbean, going right over this warm, moist air, driving humid, very, very humid air up into the middle of the country. Okay, right now wind patterns aren't so bad coming over the top so much as before, but we have this configuration going off on the west coast now. So watch out west coast because here comes a bunch of storms in a row and they're going to collide with this moist air and you're going to see icing events going through this region probably here soon. All right, so there's that for now. Take off the winds. Sorry, I'm all over the place tonight. I'm back from a mission and I'm still kind of debriefing. So we did all that. Oh, I wanted to leave null school up there. My bad. Leave that up there with the thermals. Then open up the other one. My bad. All right, leave that there now. Open up your earthquake report. So we'll be back to reference that map as we do our earthquake report. Okay, kind of helps you grasp everything a little bit better there. Earthquake map. All right, here we go. Hopping into the USBGS. Are you there? And let's get this set up a little bit better for your viewing pleasure. Okay, ooh, look at there, Nawanda Fuca. Remember I was talking to the heat in this region, we need to see some earthquake activity, and now we have. All right, so we'll get to that though. We got to start off in our deep quake region, so hold on, kiddies. Here we go. So, deep quake region, here we are, right next to Fiji. Beautiful island, Fiji. I've been there. It's so awesome. 4.4 down at 551. That's your regular mid-range 4 magnitude that we're used to seeing. Used to trigger a 5 at the surface. Not so much anymore because we have this island that's bleeding SO2 that relieves pressure, keeping magnitudes and activity down. Some of this activity being driven south, though, coming into the Kermadex at a 4.3. That's down at 484. So not super deep, but still significantly deep. Okay, almost at 500. So mid-range 4, little lower, 4.3 right there, closer to your plate boundary, but still not at it, is a 4.7 here. So a little uptick at higher in the strata. Okay, that's our typical activity. Might even see a little 5 around here, something slide in through there. Meanwhile, very quiet through here. SO2, volcano, little quake here to pop up. 4.8 down at 85, volcanic feature. 5.0 at the surface, relieving energy, scrubbing energy at the surface. Java region. Okay, not necessarily the island, but this whole bar right here. If you look, it does continue. Just some of this sticks up through the water higher than others. This whole plateau region right here. All right, so that's still part of it. There's your 4-3 at the surface right there. Surprised it's not on the plate boundary. Then up here, you had this, a 5-0 at the surface there, and usually this is the deeper region where we see another area of deep quake activity, but not so tonight. This is scrubbing energy at the surface region tonight. Coming up here through here a little bit. 4-2 here in the Philippines, down at 165. That's a volcanic feature. Remember, we were seeing cold water inundation off of Sumatra here. Well, here we go. 4.5 down at 28. That's right on this volcanic island right here. We're seeing SO2 emissions coming out of this area too. So a little uptick in pressure, even though SO2 coming out of here. We got cold water inundating, but we're still having earthquake activity, trying to, relieve pressure here in the region. Coming into Taiwan now, this used to be our fulcrum point right here, where we'd see all of our energy being relieved right here in this little pocket and at the tip of this. Well, not so anymore. It's on this plate boundary on the backside right here, and that's where we're seeing SO2 emissions coming out of this, right along that crack right there. And just off of this plate boundary, tonight we have a 5-1, and that's at the surface at 10. So scrubbing energy, that's a shallow quake, probably rattled those people again. 4-8 here in Taiwan. So 4-8 and a 5-1, probably a tad bit higher if that. If the aftershock is a 4-8, this is probably a little higher than a 5-1. I'll let you be the judge of that. We know this isn't always exactly what they propose to be, so we can just take it with a grain of salt. Meanwhile, up here we have an opening, your hot water plume, relieving pressure in the area, keeping earthquake activity down on the fulcrum point and on this side. Okay, there's no earthquake activity in that region or at the fulcrum plate. It's all on this new plate boundary. Nothing up through Japan region, nothing over here. Very, very quiet through China, the fulcrum point areas. Very quiet around Saudi Arabia and Europe. Okay, look at how quiet that whole region is. All right. Also, no activity at our volcanic site, our new path of least resistance here in Africa. Also, over here in South America, I showed you all the SO2 emissions, really strong emissions coming out of the fulcrum point. Here's your plate boundary fulcrum point right there. Okay, that's what I was referring to earlier. On land right here is your SO2 strong site. But look, no earthquakes in this whole area because we have so much coming out of this little spot and this crack that it's basically just nullified any kind of earthquake activity in that region for now. As we come up just way up here, though, there was a 4-7 in Colombia. That's down at 152, so that's a volcanic feature. Now, what I want to do really quickly here. Okay, Lord. Give him strength. Give him strength, Lord. Okay. This looks like a vein. It looks like a it looks just like that right there. And when you go back from the land to where the main hot spot is, here we have two of these weak spots right here. See all the fulcrum points around this area and then this region right here. Plate boundary comes down, wraps around, hooks up, comes back up, and look, almost makes a full circle. You can see this ridge right here stopped it, but that is a big weak spot right there, right? Just next to it is another one. It's very similar in structure to it. Multiple fulcrum points all over the place. All right. Then there's this zigzag zipper that goes right down to the bay. We come back here. Here's your 2 weak spots in this region. Here's your zipper coming back down to the bay. I'll let you be the judge of this, but it's kind of obvious. But not to fear, all part of the process, and it's relieving so much pressure, that heat, that opening, so much is being relieved there that there's basically just no activity in this whole area. So, doing its job relieving pressure, I guess, but also heating the oceans down there. All right, let's do America, shall we? Drop in here with the all magnitude. Ow, ow. Excuse me. All right, here we go. Fulcrum point right there, no activity. So many active volcanoes through this region that it's really quiet in there. Coming in here, we had that big heat plume out here in the Gulf of Alaska under this structure, so we're starting to see pressure in this region, triggering bigger size earthquakes. 4.4 at 121 with a little tsunami warning. I would click on the tsunami warning, but it's probably 4.4. It's not that important right now. 3.6 here, that's another fair amount. This 4.2, so a little uptick in magnitude and frequency of earthquakes through our Aleutian Islands. All right. Then as we come up into our multiple fulcrum point area, okay, there's one here underwater, there's one in the bay, there's the actual plate boundary. They're just stacked up on top of each other, just like a big, we'll pull back big enough here. Well, let's go right there. Like a big finger came in and pushed all this up, and this is all snow, and you see all these different arches of pressure waves that are built up in front of it. Those are all multiple fulcrum points, just all stacked on top of each other. As we come into the ridge of one of these arches, you get your 5.2, and at a depth of 8.8. This is probably a little bit stronger than what they're reporting. We'll see, but we got some quakes surrounding it. So we have a couple aftershocks, a 3.2 and a 3.5. That's about what they should be for a 5.2. Okay, maybe there's a 5.2, and those are all looking pretty symmetrical. Nice tall mountain here, snow-capped peak. All kinds of fault lines and valleys and just ripples. We got features like this that almost look volcanic in nature, but no. Anyways, we have activity in this region along the edge of this fulcrum point going up through this region. So a new pathway of least resistance kind of popping off here. We're seeing a lot of temperature and pressure build in this region. Okay. Now you can see why quake magnitudes, excuse me, and activity are up. We have an open vent relieving pressure in this area, but it's all around this region, so it's causing some activity underground here, pushing up through that region, causing 5 magnitude. That's we haven't seen a 5 appear in a few days here in a minute. So uptick in magnitude, and that kind of comes on around the edge of the plate boundary, because this is all the edge of one big crack in a shell, right? So pressure travels along this pathway. We saw a bunch of heat building up inside the plate boundary right here, coming out. I'm going to mark this right there is about where your plate boundary comes out. Okay, so here's the bottom of the Juan de Fuca. All right where I marked it. It comes out, zigzags on up through this blue zone right through here. Okay, going on up. So inside that blue zone is all this heat, all this pressure, pushing stuff out through the ocean floor here. So pressure in the region, pushing stuff out. I told you we need a good quake in this region to relieve some of that pressure. Now let's dive into what we got here. It's not on a plate boundary. There's no seamount really around it. So your diverse quake almost because of the pressure down below. 4.2 at the surface. Tack on another 3. So there's some good, pressure being relieved without doing damage. Those are the smaller, magnitudes I like to see because they relieve pressure without causing any damage, all right? And freaking people out too. The minute you get a magnitude 5 out here, everybody's going to say, oh, the big one's coming. Well, no, it just relieved a bunch of pressure, so the big one ain't coming for a while. But when you see this, and it starts to build and grow in size and intensity, that's when you'll see a big one coming. If we don't continue to have, relief like this, that's when you see a big one coming. All right. But right now, pressure being relieved. We were talking about it just a couple days ago, how we needed that. So I see answered prayer. When I see answered prayer, I like to note it and point it out for other people because a lot of people wouldn't recognize that. They'd say, oh, well, that's just an earthquake. Haha, you got lucky. No, I didn't get lucky. Somebody else prayed for that. And it wasn't me who got lucky. It was somebody else that prayed for that. Anyways, activity here at Rainier. Okay, we got the plug. It's plugged up. So pressure in the region can't get out. So it's shaking this mountain on the flanks. You're seeing, magnitude 2s. It's not a lot, but that's an indication of pressure down below pushing up through a pathway that's plugged. No activity around St. Helens, but this little peak here, which is a volcanic peak, also has a small quake on it, on the flank of it. So that's a sign of activity or pressure in the region. Activity in the region. We saw a lot of SO2 coming out of this area now. We'll come back to that after in just a minute. If I don't forget. All right. Fulcrum Point quakes, 2.2, 2.5. They're on the Pacific plate. They're not on the Juan de Fuca. They're south of the of your plate boundary. So they're not on the boundary line, even though they're semi-shallow at 19. One on land as well. So add all that magnitude together and relieve some pressure in that area. And when we come over there, well, look. We're starting to see cold water inundation in that area because pressure being relieved. And now that we've seen a quake up in this region, we'll probably see tomorrow a little lightening of the coloration here, okay, which can change wind patterns out here, right? We've seen one little opening change wind patterns and cause these devastating atmospheric rivers. And I think that's what we're about to get set up with here. Let me just see something here. I pray I'm wrong. If we see this cooling down, see how it's pulling air away? It's drawing air to it. If we see this cooling down, that effect will hamper. This will increase. We're going to see this storm come on shore, and it's going to start feeding like a fire hose of moisture out of this thing. So sometimes this pressure is good. Sometimes it's good when the pressure is relieved, but it also has other side effects that can change up weather patterns just a tad bit. And when they change up a tad bit, well, on a global scale, that's a huge bit. Okay, so the center of rotation, 100 miles on this map, just a little tiny shift like that, well, that's a huge return out here. Okay, so one little shift here makes this move hundreds of miles. So, see what I'm saying? There's a big difference. So, we're going to be seeing some weather, it looks like, coming towards the west coast. We'll get into that later here in our weather report. I want you to get back to this, though. It's important that you know that earthquake activity now, it sounds crazy, but earthquake activity can affect the weather by thermal openings, relievings, ebbs and flows of pressure. Little activity out here at the Urington site. These the fulcrum point out here, and this one kind of tag teaming, taking turns sometimes. Meanwhile, very quiet through Northern California. Your geysers, nothing current, very quiet. A little bit on the San Andreas offshore here. We did see little heat plumes staggered through this area. Little heat plumes out here. Okay, so that's an indication that there's still pressure in that region. It's not a lot, but there's still pressure, and we're still seeing quakes on this San Andreas and just on the outside of it, on the Pacific side of it. Not much. This is just all typical activity, 2.2 magnitudes. Here's your eyeball type eye structure here that I talk about sometimes. Can we have control of the map, please, Lord? Thank you. Coming out right here, going back in. So, not a lot of pressure in the region, and your magnitudes are like 1.4, current activity 0.6, so they're really small. Current one down here was 1.4, so they're not even feeling this activity. It's just kind of micro quaking, relieving what little pressure there is in that area, which is good. We're also still seeing up here Idaho cracking off with a small one today, 2.8, but over here in Yellowstone, just a few little microquakes. They're not big, but they're an indication that pressure's built under the region here, and there's so many pathways of least resistance, so many geysers, so many little hot springs and everything like that. But when you're starting to see little microquakes like this in the area, it's an indication of a little uptick in pressure. Okay, especially around this area, it's a good relief valve area, right? Relieves a lot of pressure. Little activity out in Utah, not much. Okay, coming into man-made perforations in the crust. Drill, baby, drill. It only sets off at 2.1 that you can't even feel. But down here, we had a 4.5 in, what's this, Falls Cities, Texas? And then also right next to it is a 2.6. So we had a 4.5 here that gave a little aftershock of 2.6. That's not too bad. That's an uptick in magnitude for Texas, which is an indication of an uptick in pressure down below. Remember we saw it on the Schumann. Some of these quakes right here could have been the relief and pressure that made the Schumann stop grinding for a second and then go right back to grinding again, because a new spot or a good event can do that. We're still having current activity right now, so see the red dots are current ones. So fulcrum point, getting close to the fulcrum point of the New Madrid right there, 1.4. Just reminding you that that area can wake up too. Okay. Anything along the Craton now? So our new little event right here, this 4.5 in Texas is noteworthy. Doesn't seem like much. It's a mid-range forequake. Probably didn't do a lot of damage, thankfully, but relieving pressure in that area, and we have that heat anomaly right here. So this may have helped reduce that heat anomaly, making it smaller. So combination of this plus the other one getting bigger, whatever, something made that heat anomaly out here smaller, and we're also seeing mid-range 4 activity there in Texas. So interesting. We'll have to keep watching that area. Ow, ow. Dang. Sorry. Get out of there. Felt like you got stabbed in the hand. 4.5 here in Colombia. I think we already touched base with that. Quick magnitude check here. 3.0. 3.3. That's your typical magnitude lately now for that region. So that's good. All right. I think we're done, son. Nothing along the plate boundaries. Very quiet this side of the world. Very quiet over here, too. So mainly around the Pacific Rim. Let's get into our volcano report, shall we? Oh, drag it out, huh? I guess you're like, does this guy ever get to the point? All right. Ooh. 37 erupting volcanoes, 38 in unrest. That's 75 volcanoes that are active, if not erupting. All right. And then there's also ones over here. Wait, can we have that back, please? You. Our volcano page is taking a second here. Anyways, we have 75 volcanoes. 7 years ago, when all this stuff started happening to me, there was only one volcano on the planet that was active. It was Kilauea, and it was just a little pit of lava that bubble and boil and blah blah blah. Well, now 7 years later, here we are with 75 active volcanoes. If I had told you back then, you would have said I'm crazy. Well, here we are 7 years later, and I am still crazy about you. All right, let's do this. Let's chug some oil tonight, all right? Here we go. Take a swig. Let's go. Ibu, I be with you. My favorite little thing to do. But it's just a red triangle on a white map. Semeru, Volcano 2. This is our main relief valve on the face planet because it's every day 14 to 15,000. Okay. There's a White Island volcano, all ash, particulates, SO2. Basically the same pictures we saw before from satellite. Okay. All right, here we go. Ibu, I be with you at 8,000 feet. That's a comfortable place to be with me. Semeru, maxing out at 15,000. Our Old Faithful here. We ought to name this one Old Faithful next, huh? It's going off every day, 15,000. We're relieving pressure in that Java region, okay? Ducono, 8,000. White Island. Activity at the volcano currently characterized by weak to moderate stream of gas and plumes, occasionally containing minor amounts of ash. So that's what's happening when I'm sleeping. Okay. The effusive eruption returned at Kalukupipele in in Kilauea. All right, so activities returned to Kilauea. Remember a seventh time or whatever there? Santa Guido 14, Fuego, Nevada del Ruiz, Reventador 14,000, and that's just in the last few minutes, okay? Here's today, which is now yesterday, because, well, time flies at this channel. Shall we? Here we go. There's your map of insanity. No, I don't want it in Indonesian. I'll take English, thank you. Shivalus, Kulchevskoy, Bizamani, Karaminsky, Alade, and Ebico, all currently erupting right there, relieving a lot of pressure for this region of the world, keeping earthquake activity down at our fulcrum point up there. You got activity around Japan, Sakurajima, Nishishima, Jima, Iwo Jima. Okay, so there's activity in Japan, Suenosi Jima. You also got in this region, all along here, Semeru, you got, or Java, you got Semeru, Marapi, Krakatau, Merapi, Agung. So there's all kinds of active volcanoes for that region. Don't forget, 2 up here at Iceland now. Don't forget, 2 here in Italy, or around the Mediterranean, I should say. Michael down here, Kilauea. We got Home Reef, New Island, and don't forget we got activity starting to occur up in the Aleutians. All right, and currently active volcano down in Antarctica. Let's move on. A lot of ash, a lot of that going on all over the world, keeping your skies full of particulates, very cloudy, murky, hazy type skies. Sakurajima, 10,000 feet. Kenlona, Ibu, 8,000. Oh, nobody chugging oil there? All right. Luatobi, Semaru, 15, Kilauea, 6 periods have occurred. Now we got another one, so change that 6 to a 7. Popocatépetl, 19,000, Santo Guido, 14, Nevada del Ruiz, 21,000. And there's your map in list form. I dare you to take this list to the mainstream media and go, did you know that this was happening? Enough to give somebody a heart attack. So a lot of this can be disturbing information, especially when you're seeing it in reality. It's not like a game show, it's not a cartoon or a movie. This is reality. And it's kind of runaway train. Okay, let's move on to our weather report really quick. We have particulates, we have much more humidity in the air, which causes a lot more raindrops, clouds, basically, a lot more clouds. Higher cloud tops produce stronger tornadoes, larger hail, stronger winds. So you're seeing higher precipitation amounts, stronger winds, all kinds of crazy weather. Plus, you got the spiritual realm getting in there too. All right, it's tidbit time. Everybody hold out your hand and get your tidbit. It's a tropical tidbit, though. And for you guys that like models, well, sorry, we got forecast models. There we go. All right, so we were talking about this last night, and here we are. I blathered on so long that we missed our update. All right, so we only got a few frames, so let's just tackle this. Here's your current conditions with your severe weather outbreak happening right now, the morning hours of the 30th, like we talked about for the last few days now. We saw this coming, the morning hours of the 30th. So here's your severe weather event, your QLCS starting to form. As we get into the noontime, you got your QLCS formation still going there. Might not kick up too many tornadoes, but we'll see. Here's your afternoon hours when your cloud tops are kind of at their highest. The nighttime, you see it wrap around doing that comma effect. It didn't really complete and get too organized, but we still have that wraparound severity right there. So tomorrow night around midnight in that region, they might have severe weather in your Kansas, Nebraska, Iowa, you know, where they all meet right there. Also, possible QLCSs and pop-ups out in front here. When you get a storm line like this and it's kind of staggered a little bit, you'll get thunderstorms that pop up in front, and they don't interact with the main line, and they don't get there's no interference, so they're allowed to blossom and get a lot stronger. So we might see the pop-up effect there. Going into the morning of January 31st, still severe chances in morning hours. Then we have this starting to organize, little spots of icing possible, but still this string going all the way down, tapping into that warm, moist air, pulling it up through there. Now we're starting to see our West Coast getting its storms. And that's what a lot of this report was going to be, was the storm activity on the West Coast. But much like last night, we missed out. So we're just going to start hopping right into the spiritual report. Yay! All right, there we go. It's another one I want to pull up. The eclipse. Somebody was talking about the 3 days of darkness the other day. Oh, we should be seeing the 3 days of darkness here soon. Well, we did. We saw 3 solar eclipses cross over America. Now, back in the old days, eclipse was a very special event, right? It didn't happen all that often, right? So back in older times, that was a big event, and it was noted as a day of darkness because the sun went down. It disappeared during the daytime. So old old style ways of speaking, a day of darkness was an eclipse day. So we had those 3 eclipses that went across the country at very specific sites. All right, and those were your 3 days of darkness, because each day, each one of those days that had an eclipse had darkness in it, known as a day of darkness. A lot of people attributed, no, it would be dark all day, all through the night, ash clouds covering the sun type darkness like that. Well, there's different ways of interpreting things, all right? Literally, and then also figuratively, and then spiritually, okay? And a lot of this is supposed to be deciphered spiritually, okay? There are literal and, actual connotations that happen too. So all 3, actually. So I was trying to get to that, and I already talked myself out of it. We can get rid of this. We'll keep the tidbits. Where do tidbits go? So I want to pull up this solar eclipse thing. Oh, wait, it's on my extra one. That's where it went. Forgot where it went for a second. So let's see. Solar eclipse light facing the cloud. Oh, a video is taken down. So what we're going to do is we're just going to look it up really quick. Because in that solar eclipse, there was a UFO captured, right? And UFO activity is trying to draw your attention to look up. So, UFO during the solar eclipse. Yeah, I had a little video pulled up, but as you can see, it got one-handed, numb hand. It was fun. Okay, will this one show it? Yeah, it should be clear enough, I think. If we can get it big enough. Actually, let's see if we can get a video that's a little bit bigger than just that little screen. Yeah, this one zooms in just a tad bit better. So what we're going to do is try to capture this here in just a second. Okay, you see the UFO streak through there. That's during the solar eclipse, right? And UFO activity drawing your attention to the sky. So when it goes through there, oops, it's almost too zoomed in. Maybe we should go back to the other one. Yeah, it's too zoomed in on this one. That one's kind of zoomed in as well. Let's try this top one here. All right. So let's just pull this one more time and pause it. Okay. And then we can zoom in on this. So here's your video playing, and try to capture it right when the UFO is going through there. Oh, wait, can't do that to the screen. But in this video, in the sky, the UFO went through this lion face right here. Can you see that lion face right there? And the UFO actually went right under its nose. So I'm going to kind of leave the screen tilted like that and see if we can play this again. Oh, wait, I gotta hit it like that. There we go.
Looking like a Dementor from Harry Potter.
I know. Here we go.
When they were filming the solar eclipse, they saw something in the sky they'd never seen before. Looking
Well,
like a Dementor.
trying to get to replay again here, but I guess just let it replay on its own. See how that went right through the lion face? It went right under its nose.
They saw something in the sky they'd never
See the lion face that I pointed out? That UFO went right under the nose of the lion. That's a little zoomed in right there, but there you go. You can see the lion face right there. The UFO went right between the nose and the lips of the lion, trying to draw your attention to the lion face that was in the clouds during the solar eclipse.
They saw something in the sky they'd never seen before. Looking like a Dementor.
Yeah, they see the UFO, but they missed what else was there. Okay, so a lot of this activity, UFO activity, is drawing you to spiritual events, faces in the clouds and stuff. Now, a lot of people probably didn't know that that was in there. They were all looking at the UFO, right? Mesmerized that the UFO happened during solar eclipse. But we've been seeing UFO activity during the last bunch of solar eclipses. Okay, so there's that lion face. Let me just do it one more time there for you.
In the sky they'd never seen before. Looking like a Dementor from Harry Potter.
Okay, a lot of lion faces, lion being the theme,
They were filming the solar
lion of the tribe of Judah. Okay, so there's your lion face right there, hiding in the clouds. And the UFO just happened to go right under its nose, huh? That's no coincidence. Also, something else going on over here. See this circular pattern in the clouds? It's black. Something going on in there. It's kind of partially covered with cloud right here, but there's something round and black right there with this lion face right next to it. The UFO goes right under the nose, right past this thing, and nobody noticed this or this, but they saw the UFO. Okay, so I've had this happen to me a lot of times, and I know that UFO activity sometimes trying to draw your attention to a different event that's going on in the clouds. And everybody saw the UFO, but they missed the lion with this black spheroid right next to it. Okay, so let's come back to our tidbits and just see if we're still cooking here. We could do just touch base with it really quick while it updates. We'll get to our spiritual report here in just a second. I just need to pull it up one more time because I X'd out. All right. So hopefully you were able to see that lion face. Okay. All kinds of faces going on these days. You know, you're told to look up. You see stuff when you look up. All right, a few more frames here. Let's go right through this again. Current conditions, the morning of the 30th. Noon, convection, nighttime, morning of the 31st. Storm coming on shore here. Noon, severe weather hitting the coast with a chance of waterspouts making landfall. There's your convection, the 31st, and now up to the nighttime of the 31st, morning of the 1st. There's the 2nd. Oh, sorry. Noon of the 1st, morning of the 1st, noon, severe weather hitting the Sierra Nevadas. It's going to be affecting me, so we're all getting ready for this. Still severe weather by the convection of the 1st, tapering off by nighttime there. And then it's just this round and round and over coming into the west coast here, coming up here in these next opening frames. All right, back to our spiritual report. All right, so you see the little lion face. Maybe you can see what's going on a little bit in the spiritual realm over there. Little black spheroid accompanying it with the UFO going right underneath the nose. All right. And kind of goes along with the lion face theme. When we get down here, see this little lion face or cat type looking face with the crown here. And then we also have other lion type faces too. Favorite. I think it's in the favorites. Where did that go? Oh, it's in the albums, that's why. There's our little GIF right there. I think it's back in the albums, that's why. Yeah. What the heck? Oh, here it is. Okay, another one of these lion type faces showing up in the clouds. Alright, couple eyes, the nose. You can see it. Let's see if the other image is a little clearer. Yeah, that one looks a little clearer right there. Alright, so when I tell you these faces that are following me in the clouds and stuff, this is what I'm talking about. Alright, and everywhere I go, this stuff follows me. So there's another lion face type theme. Okay, the Lion of the tribe of Judah. So when we come back over to these, my bad. And you see the lion face effect after this, turning into a lion over here, kind of. Then you understand that's part of the theme. And then we go back to this one here really quick. Right there we go. Alright, so reading material, we'll just start doing some reading now. You guys suffered long enough, huh? And we can just pull up one more little image here for our reading too. Please, Lord, we're almost there. Alright, get my light going here. And you guys are just going to town in your spiritual walk. You're overcoming stuff left and right that you did not know. So, really, what's going on with this player? Never did this before. Ay, ay, ay. Oh, cool. Well, now that it's all frozen up, we'll just start reading.
That this is, an elaborate hoax, and I gotta be honest.
Oh, because we're so zoomed in. That's why.
And the only reason I'm analyzing this is because I've had at least
Oh.
you probably see it behind me. Maybe three.
All right. Now we can make adjustments here.
Two different people have shared this.
So,
They wanted me to take a look at it.
bear with me. We're trying to pull this up here.
I gotta be honest. I gotta stay neutral because.
Yeah, probably because that's a lot. That's a big pill to swallow for a lot of people right there. Okay. This face, a real face showing up out by the moon. Now, we started off this video with a face out by the sun, didn't we? So we're seeing signs in the sun, the moon, stars. We're seeing signs in the heavens. I think I just heard also that a volcano on the moon of Io has gone off. So there are other stellar bodies that are having volcanic activity. It's going on across the whole solar system. All because of what's going on in the times we live in. This face showed up out by the moon during this segment of the show when I do the reading. Okay, so important that you guys understand what's going on and what happened to me and who I am. And lately, I saw a lot of growth in this family, and a lot went unnoticed, but it's been noticed now. And it all was the result of a mistake. Okay, so somebody made a mistake, but it actually turned into a growing experience for everybody. All right, and it was a perfect opportunity for everybody to witness. We had some growth, and it was because a mistake was made and we learned from it. So don't let the fear of mistakes immobilize you or make you anxious. If this life, in this life, you will have mistakes and errors, and sometimes because you're human. Okay, that's what we are. We're a walking mistake. We're human. All right, yeah, I'm only human. I make mistakes, right? Okay, so don't let the fear of mistakes immobilize you, okay, or the fear of making mistakes, because there is no such thing as a mistake. It's a growth opportunity if taken advantage of properly. So in this life you will have mistakes and errors because you're human with limited knowledge and understanding. And when you're facing a major decision, learn as much as you can about the matter. Seek my face and my help, and I will guide you with my counsel as you and I think things out in my presence. So when the time is right, go ahead, make the decision, even though the outcome is uncertain. Pray for my will to be done in this matter and release the results to me. Fear has to do with punishment. If you have been punished unjustly or severely mistreated, it is natural for you to dread making mistakes. Okay? Right there, when you understand that, it helps relieve the problem. Okay? So, I'm going to repeat that again here. Um, if you have been punished unjustly, a lot of us have as Christians or throughout our lifetime, whatever happened in your childhood sometimes, if you have been punished unjustly or severely mistreated, and it's abuse, right? It's natural for people who have suffered mistreatment or injustice, it's natural for you to dread making mistakes because it's punishment, right? You fear punishment because fear has to do with punishment, okay? And if you've been punished unjustly or severely mistreated, it's natural to dread making mistakes. So when choices need to be made, anxiety can cloud your thinking, huh? A little anxiety hops in there because you've been scarred, right? And you're afraid of making the wrong decision. So when choices need to be made, anxiety pops up and starts clouding your thinking and perhaps even immobilizing you, or even paralyzing. Okay. A lot of my followers here have figured out ways to not let that anxiety happen. But for some people who are still working on it, when choices need to be made, anxiety can cloud your thinking and even immobilize you or uh, paralyze you. But there's a remedy. When you need to make a choice and anxiety starts to pop up, there's a remedy. The remedy is to remember that I am with you and for you. What's the remedy when you're having anxiety? Even anxiety doesn't involve choices. If you're having an anxiety attack or some kind of thing that's come up and you're feeling a little anxious, even if it's not clouding your thinking, any kind of anxiety can be overcome. The remedy is to remember that I am with you and for you, that you don't have to perform well for me to keep loving you. Ah, been kind of let off the hook a little bit there. Remember, I am for you. You don't have to perform well for me to keep loving you. Absolutely nothing, including your worst mistakes, can separate you from my love. Hold on to that, okay? because that right there is like a little security blanket. All right, absolutely nothing, including your worst mistakes. And I'm talking your worst mistakes. Dude, I have seen it all. I have seen it all. I've been in prison. I've been in jail. I've been in institutions. I've seen the whole spectrum. And absolutely nothing, including your worst mistakes, nothing compared to what I did. Okay? So, your worst mistakes, nothing. Even your worst mistakes can separate you from my love. I can relate. I know why you did it. I know. It's okay. It's not your performance, it's your willing to change. Also, there was some bad news in the news this evening. Okay, I'm not going to talk about the incident. We all know what happened. We're all praying for the victims and the families. Hopefully, they can find this and find the relief that this provides for them. But when we get that bad news, those weird reports, sometimes it can cause a little bit of fear. And I want you to have no fear of bad news. The only way to accomplish this feat is to have a steadfast heart in trusting me. There is an abundance of bad news in the world, but you don't need to be afraid of it. Instead, confidently rely on me, believe in me, find encouragement in my sacrificial death on the cross and my miraculous resurrection. I am your living Savior, a living Savior. That means when you're alive, you're in your meat suit, right? When you die, your consciousness leaves that meat suit. So, in order to be alive and be a living Savior, well, I got to be alive, right? Now, that's important that you understand that. Living Savior. It's so weird because a lot of people would think, oh, this is some weird guy with some photos, but it's different. Uh, I'm some guy in the flesh with some weird photos, but it's different. I'm this guy in the flesh, not just any guy. This guy in the flesh. So that makes living proof. Even though I'm just some dude on YouTube with some photos, it's actually a lot different. Living proof. So it can walk and dwell among you. Okay. Confidently rely in me, believe in me. Something magical happens, something miraculous happens in your life. You find encouragement in my sacrificial death on the cross and my miraculous resurrection. All of a sudden, I become your living Savior. When you understand that I am a living Savior, you'll know that I'm also Almighty God. I am sovereign over global events. I am sovereign over global events. I am still in control. Remember that. You see global events, I'm in control. Don't let that bad news, don't let it have fear. That should be encouraging for you. You see the prophecies unfolding, the trueness of this. Okay, so bad news sometimes isn't fear. It should be encouraging that you're indeed overcoming it. You're taking on the world. Don't let that bad news destroy your day. If there's too much bad news, unplug from it. Okay, you're the one who's opening up the sites and ingesting it. You can stop and turn it off. Okay. I am sovereign over global events. You see my face, this big old face out by the moon? Out by the moon, overlooking the earth? You think it's possible that I'm sovereign over global events? It's important that you understand that I'm in control. And when things around you or in the world seem to be spinning out of control, when that happens, when things seem to be spinning out of control, come to me, the one who has control, and pour your heart out to me. Instead of fretting and fuming, put your energy into praying. I say again, instead of fretting and fuming and getting frustrated and complaining, put your energy into praying. It takes your mind off your situation. You come to me. You pray to Jesus not only for comfort, but also for direction. I will help you find the way forward. Always forward, not stagnant. I will help you through it. Not go around it, over it, sidestep it, not have to face it. Yeah, we go right through things. Okay? And it makes you stronger when you come out the backside. I will help you find the way forward. I take your prayers into account as I govern this planet in ways that are far beyond everyone's understanding. So don't dread bad news or let it spook you. Instead, keep your heart steadfast and calm through confident trust in me. Your heart can be steadfast and calm through your trials if you have that confident trust in me. Um, little prayers for wisdom. Also, ask me for wisdom. I know how much you need it. And King Solomon requested a discerning heart, and he received wisdom in abundance. A discerning heart, all of a sudden you can have eyes to see who's deceiving you, who's lying to you, who's manipulating you, who's using you, who's true to you as well. All of a sudden, you're with this new perspective, you have a discerning heart. And I know how much you need a discerning heart. I know how much you need the wisdom of King Solomon, and it's a precious gift. This precious gift is also essential for you, especially when you're making plans and decisions. So come to me for what you need and trust me to provide it in full measure. One aspect of wisdom is recognizing your need for my help in all that you do. It's it's in all that you do too, even the little menial stuff. You can find pleasure in praying with the little things too. They're actually precious gifts too. Once you really see how much the little things are, you're just gonna, oh wow, look at all these little things. Where do we go from here? One aspect of wisdom is recognizing the need for my help. So when your mind is sluggish, it's easy to forget about me and simply dive into your tasks and activities. Okay? But eventually you bump into an obstacle and then you face an important choice: to push ahead full throttle or to stop and ask me for insight, understanding, patience, and guidance. The closer to me you live, the more readily and frequently you will seek my help. It's kind of fun. Once you get the hang of it and you're doing it, it's kind of fun, especially in little tasks. All of a sudden you're like, oh, come on, join me while we feed the birds. You don't think about praying before you go scatter some seed out for the birds, but I like to join you in that. So invite me into silly little tasks. We can do them together with much more with much more joy. Okay? When you know I'm sitting right next to you and we're sharing it together. And that's wisdom right there. Okay, you face a choice: to push ahead on your own or to ask me for insight, understanding, patience, and guidance, because then it comes and it's soothing. Okay, so the closer to me you live, the more readily and frequently you will seek my help It's a fun little game that we do. It's a fun dance, actually. And the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. Though I am your friend, remember who I am and the power and glory that I have. Godly fear is reverential awe and worshipful admiration. Okay, it provides the best foundation for wisdom. Reverential awe and worshipful admiration actually provides a foundation for wisdom. Now you guys can absorb what the wisdom I'm giving you because of the reverential awe and the worshipful admiration that keeps you hanging to this end of this part of the show. Worshipful admiration just means interest and intrigue in what you're hearing and what you're seeing. Reverential awe. Yeah, how could this? That's awe right there. How did this huge giant face get out by the moon? And how'd that huge giant face get next to the sun? Oh, we pulled it down. But there's some reverential awe, which causes you to, be caught up in it. This worshipful admiration. Oh, that was a closer? Uh-oh. I better find another closer, huh? That connects to that. And we can, we could use that. All right, we're closing with this one right here. And we'll do more spiritual report, but we're closing with this reading right here. So as we're doing this training, okay, this is all training. These are disciplines that you practice every day. And when you find results in them, then you find that peace that transcends your circumstances. Mistakes all of a sudden are no longer mistakes, they're growth opportunities. We're training your mind, right? It's a new attitude of gratitude, right? And that keeps you humble and just happy, all right? And as we're training the mind, okay, a lot of negative stuff comes into through media and stuff, and a lot of ugly pictures. That's why it's important that you don't you see the headlines, but you don't need to see the TikTok, the first posts of the carnage, right? Because those can taint your mind, and we're trying to train your mind to think great thoughts of Jesus, great thoughts of me. Many Christians are defeated by focusing mainly on less important things. And in big quotes next to this, I put the news, because that was one of my issues that I had to deal with, was the news. So I found that many Christians are defeated by focusing mainly on the news, which are less important things. So they focus on the news, they focus on the weather, the economy, they focused on loved ones, they focus on their problems, their loved ones' problems, all kinds of stuff. They're focused on all this different stuff. Okay. Granted, in this world, you will have trouble, but don't let the troubles become your primary focus. Okay. That can be a big issue. If you're just focusing on troubles all the time, you will build up anxiety. So it's important that you understand that's part of the process. Just accept it. The moment you accept, I'm going to have some troubles in my life. All right, then they're not so bad. In this world, you'll have troubles, but don't let the troubles become your focus. Remind yourself that I am with you and I have overcome the world. And with your salvage work, you are overcoming the world as well, going from glory to glory in your tribulation. So remind yourself that you're doing that. You're going from glory to glory in your tribulation. Remind yourself that I'm with you, that I've overcome the world and you're overcoming the world. I'm nearer than the air you breathe. I am God, King of Kings, Lord of Lords. I am also your loving Savior and faithful friend. All of it in one person. Okay, pretty good friend to have. Okay. One of the most faithful friends you'll ever have. Even when you make your most wicked mistake and you hate me, I'll still forgive you. I still love you. I understand you got caught up in the world, but I have overcome the world. I'm teaching you how to do it. Um, it's about that awareness that I'm here, that I'm walking the earth now as a man in the flesh, walking around. Hello, this stuff really happened. 2,000-year-old prophecy came true to a real person. Okay, That's, I gave you my testimony a couple weeks ago or a couple days ago. Now, that awareness of my presence, one of the best ways to enhance awareness of my presence is to worship me. Okay, now worship isn't like, oh, on your knees, you're holy thou. No, it's a constant practicing of these disciplines. That's worship. When you trust me, when you believe me, when you see these images and you go out on a limb and you go, maybe this guy is him. You go out on a limb and you trust me, that's a form of worship. It's not on your knees and bowing and all that. That's what Hollywood tried to sell you. Okay, a form of worship is just trust and belief. That's hard enough to get in this world these days. Trust and belief. Trust me. I went through 7 years trying to get one little ounce of trust or belief out of one person. It took 7 years to get one little bit of ounce of trust and belief out of one person. That's how hard it is. So it's important that awareness of my presence. You guys got a really good gift right there. Okay. One of the best ways to enhance your awareness of my presence is to worship me or to practice these disciplines and find the relief that they provide. That's what connects you with the Godhead. That's what connects you with Father, Son, and the Spirit. All three of them inside you in glorious ways. Okay? So true worship or true practicing of this expands the kingdom of light, my kingdom of light, in this world. Your practice of this expands my kingdom of light in this world, pushing back the darkness. Pushing back the darkness. You know, we had a little change in our elections there. How come it didn't get stolen again? Maybe somebody was pushing back against the darkness because they were practicing these disciplines, expanding my kingdom of light in this world. That was probably one of you in this audience did something that expanded that kingdom of light, and it was enough to push back the darkness and change an elections. An exquisite way to do this is to praise me, which is singing songs. I told you about the code in the music. When you're having fun singing that code and you understand everything, that's a form of praise and worship. And it's fun. And it pushes back the darkness. Okay? Singing songs, just reading scripture. A lot of people enjoy just reading scripture. I do sometimes just pouring through it. Okay? All kinds of ways to praise is not like, oh, you're all this, you're all that, you're great. Well, no, it's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for you to practice your disciplines. Okay, that's a way to praise. And finding the results. That's what makes me happy is when you guys find those results. All right. Also, again, like I said, reading the Bible and filling your mind with biblical truth will help you resist discouragement. So sometimes when you feel discouragement, open up to one of your favorite verses or whatever it takes, and it will help you. Biblical truth is the truth. Everything else in this world is a world full of lies. So you need a little biblical truth to encourage you and resist the discouragement. Okay? So, when you need a little encouragement, go to the Bible. You could come here, you could look at these pictures, you could listen to any one of these spiritual reports back in through the last couple of years, anything like that, whatever it needs. But filling your mind with biblical truth will help you resist discouragement. So, when troubles assail you, exert yourself to think. Okay, when troubles assail you and you're focused on your troubles, you have to exert yourself to think about my presence, think about who I am, think about the friend that you have, the Savior that you have. The moment you start doing that, your troubles start to dwindle. So when your troubles, your anxieties come at you, exert yourself to think. You got to exert some thinking, some positive thinking. Train your mind to think great thoughts, thoughts that are pure, glorious, and true, beautiful. Look at some beautiful scenery or whatever it needs to take you out of your situation, focusing on taking your focus off the less important things back to where it needs to be. Exerting yourself, thinking about who I am, what you have. You have a Savior, you have a friend. You have a friend that's God. Okay? The moment you believe and trust, all of a sudden that makes you by default, that makes you a child of God. How bad do you want it? It's right there in front of you. All you have to do is believe and trust and try practicing some of these disciplines. Maybe you won't find results off at your first try. Maybe it takes a lot of tries, but when you finally do get a result, you'll go, oh, there it is. I found it. I figured it out. You'll get some relief. It'll transcend your way of thinking, renewing your mind, having a new perspective on things. Bad news is no longer bad news. Mistakes are no longer mistakes. All your pain as you go through a painful day, you're overcoming the pain the world's inflicting on you. So you're overcoming the pain. That you get a glory for that. And then you overcome the pain again and you get a glory for that. And you overcome more pain and you overcome that. And you're going from glory to glory to glory in your tribulation. When your hands are numb and you cannot feel anything with your hands and you're losing coordination with your hands, anything that you touch or do with them is blessed. You're overcoming the disability and still making things work. That's overcoming the world, overcoming your, even if it, you got pain. For instance, I'm not trying to brag or anything, but it hurts when I take a step with my left foot. Every time I plant my left foot, it's painful. So while walking, no matter how far I walk, I'm overcoming the world with each step. Okay, so for those of you who have pain when you're walking, look at it from this perspective. Every step you take, you're overcoming the world. Okay, every time you get caught complaining or getting down, overcome that. Take a minute, step aside, find a favorite prayer, scripture, whatever it is that takes you to this place, to the spiritual realm where you see the bigger picture, you see how minuscule the problem is, it relieves the anxiety so you can move forward. That's it for tonight, you guys. Had a long day. pulled off pulled off some amazing stuff today, and I'm just thankful that I was able to incorporate Jesus in my adventures today, during my tasks, during even the little parts of the bigger task. I'll include them in that. Oh, please help me open this door. My shoulders are so sore and weak that pulling open a door at a restaurant hurts. Almost pulled my shoulder out of socket the other day opening the door for somebody. So Lord help me open the door. Little tiny little gems, those little small prayers for little things. It's when you start to appreciate the little things too that all of a sudden you just see it. The whole path is scattered with gems. And don't pray away your adversity. It's That's what's making you stronger. When you're overcoming these obstacles, that's what's making you stronger. So I know it's hard, but try not to pray away your blessings and pray away your adversity. Grab a hold of my hand. We'll tackle it together. I'll take you right through it. And that way you'll know you can go through obstacles. You don't have to go around them. You don't have to divert. You don't have to avoid them or get anxious when you see an obstacle coming. Grab my hand, be like, all right, let's do this. And together we do it. And when you come out the backside, you look back and go, whoa, did we just go right through that? That's your answered prayer. That's your answered prayer. Okay. When you recognize some answered prayer, you'll start to really see what you have, the authority and the power that you have in your prayers. As long as it's within my will, you're all good. It's my pleasure to when you pray for others healing, that's the best. I love it. I can heal that person now because somebody prayed for them. That person needs to be a believer also that the prayers are going to work. Some people are praying their butts off for people who don't believe the prayer is going to work. I'm like over here going, you're so sincere. You're doing so awesome in your prayers. Way to go for you. Too bad the person you're praying for doesn't believe it's going to work. But eventually, it does have effects. Okay? So you guys are doing awesome. You're taking on darkness. You're defeating it in this realm already. You're doing it in this realm already. I can't wait to see what you guys are going to do when we get on the other side. You're going to be so. Oh, you're just going to be so in love. It's going to be awesome. All right. So for now, that's it. I love you guys. I miss you guys. Thank you for all who hung out till the end. I know it's way late for most of you. So even people in replay, it doesn't matter. You're still here with us, even in that moment as well. So I'd like to just kind of go through here and thank some of these people. Obies, thank you. Oh my goodness, Brian, you should be in paradise. You guys, of course. Oh boy, you got all kinds of questions, don't you? It's okay. Stick around, OBZRV. Just stick around. You'll figure this out pretty soon. Stephen A., thanks for being here, bud. Misty, I love you, darling. Steve. Who else is here? Oh, there she is. Watch Moon of the Dragon. I've been watching some of your little videos, darling, if you're still here. I think you are. Yeah, that's about all who was in the chat tonight. Marcia, of course, I love you, darling. You know that. We'll get you in wrench there, too, sweetie. All right. I think that covers pretty much everybody that was in the chat tonight. And for all of those of you who weren't chatting, I love you, too. Okay. Hopefully you figured this out. The rapture is happening at any moment. That is the moment you believe me and trust me. When you see this image right here, this is me, this is my face with a crown up above it. This happened on Easter. A 2,000-year-old prophecy came true on Easter, except I recognize the face again. It's my face again showing up here. So here's my face coming with power and great glory in the clouds. It's fascinating. It's intriguing, like a good book or a good song or a TikTok thread that you can't put down for 4 hours. You get caught up in it. You lose track of time. You lose track of everything because you were so caught up in the moment, caught up with me in the clouds. It's fascinating. It's intriguing. You get caught up with me in the clouds where we meet in the air of cyberspace. I wish I could come over to your place right now and give you a big old hug, but I can't. So I meet my family in the air. So here we are, meeting in the air. We're caught up with me in the clouds. The moment you believe and trust me, that's the moment you're raptured. Okay, there is no little white dot turning into white dot and zipping out into space and all the airplanes and cars crashing. Mm-mm. That was Hollywood's version. The word rapture is not in the Bible, but it says, when you see these things come to pass, look up. You'll see me coming in the clouds. You'll see me coming in the clouds with power and great glory. When you see me, you'll be caught up with me in the clouds where we meet in the air, where I provided a place here at YouTube, where I live stream here on YouTube, that where I am you may be also. Get that? You understand how that works? Good. Because that's how it works, and you truly are, well, raptured. You're complete. Your faith has been completed to knowing. And now you know, well, now your prayers are getting more refined. You're understanding how this works. You're actually taking on life now, tackling life instead of getting depressed. You're popping back up from the obstacle course, brushing off the dirt and going forward. And now you realize that you're a soldier and you're growing courage. You're taking on this battle with some courage and bravery. Y'all want to be these superstars that you see in the movies, these heroes that you see in the movies. Well, those heroes in the movies have to overcome adversity during the course of the story in the movie, right? So the hero in the movie has to overcome the adversity in order to become the hero. You guys, we're doing it. You're really doing it. And I'm so thankful. I am so thankful for those who have found that believing me and trusting me does indeed produce results. When you find those results, you will find the key to life and to happiness and to joy, and you will live richer, fuller lives the way you were designed. All right? I love you all. I miss you all. I gotta go, but I'm a man of my word. Until my next show, I will be back. In fact, I am already back. Can't you tell? I love you all. Bye.